Hey guys, Colby here. Welcome to another race challenge video. We've got a big one today because we've got news about the rebalance patch that's coming in the near future. We got the buffs that will be coming to the champions, but the most important thing is we're getting a nerf to one of our beloved champions. I hate them for this, okay? Hate might be a strong word, but I'm disappointed that they went ahead with this nerf, guys. We'll go ahead and start up with the nerf, and then we'll go on with the buffs, and hopefully those will cover the nerf, at least for the guys out there and girls who have those champions that are getting buffed. At least not everyone has the one that's getting nerfed. You guys might understand which one's getting nerfed, so I'm gonna start with him first. So let me just share my screen and I'll tell you exactly who's getting nerfed. So Eurogrim is getting nerfed. The guy who we all thought, okay, this epic is a legendary. We thought, okay, this one's amazing. Now they're actually nerfing him. His A1, the skull staff that does a triple hitting attack, now becomes a double hitting attack instead. That kind of sucks, to be honest. I didn't want them to have this reduced to 2 attacks. I mean, why apply him? I'm guessing because he was applying lots of poisons. But then also look at that. His Bizarre Vapors skill, which is his A3, okay? Let me just open it up so you guys can see, as well as the one champion I don't have, but I don't care that I don't have him. He's good for all the community out there. So this skill becomes a 6-turn cooldown instead of a 5-turn. So once you book it out, it's going to become a 4-turn duration cooldown. And that's the biggest thing about this nerf on this. So he will be applying 2 5% poison debuffs instead of 3 5% poison debuffs, and then his healing becomes a single continuous heal buff on all allies for 2 turns. This kind of sucks, okay? The reason for this is he could be used as a similar champion to Battle Khazar for the clan boss. He could be used to provide lots of utility to your team survivability with those continuous heal buffs. I do not approve of this nerf. Okay, not because he was too strong, but because I think it's a too strong of a nerf. Okay, this champion was really good and helped lots of players just overcome some challenges. He wasn't as strong, of course, as Battle Khazar. Battle Khazar has a great lead for critical rate. He has a great damage boost, and he also cleanses with his A3 as an AoE cleanse. So I don't think you could compare the two in the sense of who is stronger than the other one. But I do not think this is deserved. I think that they should go back and rethink of this nerf. That being said, there might be some changes to this rebalance by the time this is actually out. Let's go over and check out the other champions that are getting buffed, and we'll check on their actual skills right here. So we got Tila Gormain, whatever you want to call her. Her base speed increases to 93-98 when fully ascended. So that's always a nice boost when they get those legendaries to a more reasonable speed. Then her Hexdrinker Scimitar attacks one enemy, steals 1 random buff from the target. Also has a 50% chance of stealing another random buff if the target is under 2 or more buffs. That's cool. It's a single target skill that removes buffs. And then her Pyre Strike cooldown decreased to 3 turns. Attacks one enemy, plays an HP burn debuff for 2 turns. And then she also applies a continuous heal buff on all allies for 2 turns. I'm liking this because this adds another layer of her as protection to the team. So it's not that of a waste of a champion because she now provides the HP burn debuff and the continuous heal buffs to the team. I'm liking this. Let me go check on what was her cooldown up until this point. I don't even have Tila on my account. But yeah, Pyre Strike had a 4-turn cooldown, and now this will become a 3-turn cooldown. So yeah, so the change here is that she doesn't need to crit for her to apply the continuous heal. I guess it makes sense, but if you're gonna have Tila, I'm gonna think you're gonna use her more of a, I don't know, a support plus attacking champion, since she has single target skills. I mean, you could use her just as a support, just plain support. Don't care about her critical rate, but whatever. This buff is good because of the 3-turn cooldown. Now let's go to the next one. It's Robar. So base speed increased to 97. Another champion here in the orcs. So base speed goes from 87 to 97. That's a solid boost. And then Merciless Assault, his A3 now does an attacks all enemies, damage increases if the target is under fear, true fear, freeze, provoke, sleep, or stun debuffs. So now they've added additional conditions in there, so it's not only sleep, stun, and freeze. That's really solid. So this makes Robar hit even harder. I would say when you have more ways of him enabling his conditional damage. I'm liking this change. I'm liking the base speed change more than anything, I would say. So it helps in getting him to those reasonable speeds that you need for arena when he has a 97 base speed instead of 87. So let's check on King Growhack. I made a video on this guy. Okay, King Growhack was kind of a joke in terms of his damage with the Gore Maker. This is supposed to be an AoE attack that ignores the defense of the target. So now this says damage multiplier increased. It doesn't say by how much. I'm guessing it's gonna be a good damage boost. I'm hoping it's a great one actually. So hopefully they'll just release the numbers to us, but I'm hoping this actually does some solid damage now with the Gore Maker. And then we've got Pixneal, the Christmas summon. Okay, the Christmas summon. I think she's high elf. I haven't even done a showcase on her just because all the community was like, what is this champion playing? So what are they changing? They changing Mistress of Glamours. The attacks one enemy, has a 30% chance of placing a perfect veil buff for 1 turn on the ally with the lowest HP. So she kind of protects the lowest HP ally. I guess that's cool. Instead of a random ally, it protects the lowest HP. Then Frost Weaver, 50% chance of stealing the freeze debuff and placing it on this champion instead. So which one is Frost Weaver? Is her passive. So this one goes from a 20% chance to 50% chance. And then 35% chance of filling these champions' turn meter by 25% every time they receive a freeze debuff. This one is still low. 35%, it goes to 50% when you book her out. Removes any freeze debuffs from the champion at the start of every turn. I'm liking that. I'm liking it. The removal of the freezes. It means that you don't need to have her with immunity against freeze champions, but for everything else you still need to have it. And I'm guessing this is her buff. I don't think it's such a great buff. I think they could have done better with this one, just to make it worth it for a Christmas fusion. I mean, yay, I played Raid in Christmas 2020 and I got this one, which I still have in the vault even after a rebalance. I'm not really liking it. It's a good effort, but maybe the chance here should have been removed. Okay, we've got Dark Alhaine that gets a guaranteed move whenever she gets frozen or an ally gets frozen. So this should have been a legendary version of what Dark Alhaine can do, but instead of an attacking champion, have her as a support champion when somebody gets frozen. Yeah, that would have been a good buff. A Tomblord gets a buff here. I did not expect this buff. I'm liking the buff a lot on Tomblord. So if you don't have Tomblord already, then you might not know that his AoE poison ability is a 1-turn poison application on the enemy targets. I mean, 1 turn isn't a lot, especially when you're fighting the faction wars boss. You want those poisons to take as much as you can in order to take that boss down. Those 1-turn duration doesn't really do that much. Now that it becomes a 2-turn duration, it's really good. Then he also gets his blight cooldown decreased to 5 turns. So this one actually becomes a 4-turn cooldown. I'm liking this a lot because this is also a turn meter depletion, decreased attack, decreased defense. Also very solid. He also gets an extra turn if he depletes the turn meter. So this will make Tomblord a really solid champion as a poisoner. And he also gets an aura now for the Doom Tower, boosting the accuracy by 70 instead of a increased ally defense in arena battles by 42%. So that's going to be replaced. Solid buff there. Warchief gets a buff also. Next up is Warchief. Where is Warchief? So Warchief gets his Marauder skill reduced now to 3 turns cooldown, and this actually becomes a 2-turn cooldown once you have it booked. Not a bad thing for single target provokes. It's a provoke for 3 turns, so you basically can have a target locked down forever when you have Warchief in there. Especially it works great on the Magma Dragon boss for the Doom Tower. If you have Warchief, he basically becomes the MVP for using this champion for that specific boss. Other than that, I would have loved if this was a multi-target hit, not an AoE. This would have been too overpowered to just lock down everybody. But I would have loved if this was like a multi-target, like hits another target and provokes 2 targets instead of 1. This would have been a more solid buff to Warchief and make him more usable, and maybe some tweak to his passive as well, so it would work on the clan boss, because currently when he's 0 health, the reflection does not do anything to the clan boss when he is at 1 health, not 0. So if you're using an unkillable setup, it does not work with Warchief. I would have loved if that was an option, so you could use Warchief to use that reflection on the clan boss. Yeah, it would have been a perfect buff. And then we're getting Basilio's Ruanas buffed, okay? When we go up to Basilio's Ruanas, I don't even have this guy, okay? So he gets his triple puncture damage multiplier increased, okay? Triple puncture is his A2, attacks an enemy 3 times now. Ignore shield and block damage, but with the buff, he will also ignore increased defense buffs. As well, 50% of the target's defense. That's solid, but I mean, if the target has the increased defense buffs, you probably will remove them if you're using him as a nuker. And then his Majesty skill, damage multiplier increased the AoE attack, 75% chance of placing a stun debuff for 1 turn. Decrease each target's turn meter by 50% if the stun debuff is not placed. Liking this a ton. So this basically goes to 100% chance when you have him booked out. Makes him a solid control champion as well. I'm wondering what the multiplier will do. Hopefully the multiplier will be huge and he'll be actually seeing some action as a force nuker with that big AoE. Okay, so we don't have just Caterphon in there as the biggest nuker at the moment, when he does have those conditions with the perfect veil and stuff. So next up is Crip King Growl. We've got 3 more guys. So Crip King Growl. So currently Crip King Growl, I use him only for the spider, just for his freeze and HP burn extension. What he's getting is his Brittleness Bane now has 100% chance instead, if the target is under an HP burn debuff, to apply the decreased attack. So this is cool. I guess if there's an HP burn on, you can actually 100% chance to apply that decreased attack. This works great for clan boss, I would say. But he is a support based champion. I don't know if you would use him instead of somebody else for those decreased attacks. Makes him worthwhile in there as well. Then his Death Fires, his A2 basically becomes an AoE, and then 75% chance of placing an HP burn debuff for 2 turns. This is very solid for the spider actually. So he'll now have the chance to apply that HP burn. Makes him a very solid candidate for using him with Sisia. Yeah, it's Sisia, right? With Sisia, so that he can actually apply the HP burn and then extend it. That's gonna make the run a little bit harder, but now he's actually a champion that can apply the HP burn as an AoE. Solid buff there on the Crip King Growl. And then we're looking at Warmother. Okay, let's look at Warmother's stats on everything. Right, so what does she get? She actually gets a small nerf, so base HP decreased. I don't care about that because she gets her base attack, defense, and bomb damage multiplier increased. Again, they do not specify how the multiplier changes. We'll know about this soon when we get the data mines from the actual data miners. But that's good because it means she'll be doing even more damage with her bombs. Her special Brew attack now actually puts the bombs on with a 2-turn duration. This means the bombs have less time to go until they explode. That's great. It doesn't boost the damage against bosses, so we still don't have the bombs usability for bosses. And then her Mother's Touch attacks all enemies and then instantly detonates all bombs debuffs if this champion is under an increased attack buff. Okay, so instead of having her with 100% crit, you just need to have her with an increased attack, which makes more sense because increased attack boosts the bomb's damage. It also means you don't need to use her with 100% crit. I don't think she will need the 100% crit now with any of her skills. That's great. It means you can use her with an attack percent glove instead of a, let's say, critical rate glove, and boost her attack even higher. I wonder how much we can get her attack going and seeing some big numbers with Warmother. I have one on the free-to-play account. And then finally, guys, we've got Growhack the Bloodied. All the champions, mostly all of them that we saw and said, okay, are they gonna get buffed? Say they went ahead and buffed them. Most of them were orcs. Okay, so Growhack the Bloodied, cooldown decreased to 3 turns on his Unbowed Anger. So from a 4-turn, this becomes a 3-turn cooldown. Fill this champion turn by 20% for each enemy under decreased speed debuff. This remains the same. And now each critical hit fills this champion determinator by 20%. So yeah, you don't need to have the decreased speed debuff anymore. He just needs to crit. That makes more sense. You're gonna use him as a nuker. I just wonder on if this is gonna be better, because I don't see a damage multiplier boost right here. So I wonder how that's gonna be for him. If he's gonna be more usable now, not caring about the decreased speed. I think so, yeah. So Lord of War also gets a buff. Attacks one enemy and steals the target's turn meter. Plays a 25% weaken debuff for 2 turns if this attack is critical. So yeah, this is a single target hit. You steal the turn meter. So from a 4-turn cooldown when it's booked, and you steal the turn meter, let's say it was 100%, you go to a 3-turn cooldown. And because this also now applies a weaken, maybe this one's better because you can actually use him for something else. Maybe even use him for the clan boss. Of course, you're not gonna be stealing the turn meter, but the weaken also boosts this champion's usability for clan boss on a single target basis. So I wonder if he's gonna see some action in there. They didn't change his A1, so he still applies a decreased speed. If this was a decreased defense, then he would be applying both of the important debuffs. It would have been way better, I think, as a buff. And this was it. This is the rebalance notes that we got. Of course, they are subject to change until the time comes when we actually get the patch going. These might change. We might not get the nerf to Eurogrim. That's the most important thing I've seen. That kind of hurts my soul. Overall, we get 11 rebalances to these champions. I'm thinking the best ones here are Tomblord, Crip King, and then depending on the multipliers for Basilius and King Garog, and then maybe Robar, depending on how his AoE move works now with all the other conditionals. I'm thinking those might be worthwhile. All the other ones are okay, but nothing too crazy in terms of rebalancing. If you agree, guys, with these changes, leave a comment down below. What do you think of these changes? Do you think there's one champion out there that should have been addressed in this rebalance patch? Leave it down below. I'll try to communicate that to Plarium. Thank you guys for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you in the next one. See ya.